to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the show, and welcome to our live viewing audience here on Facebook, Instagram, X, wherever you are watching. Proud member of the Education Podcast Network, Voice Ed Radio Canada, wherever you're taking your podcast in. Welcome, and thank you so much for tuning in. Before we get started, a quick word from tonight's sponsor, IXL.
I'd like to thank IXL for sponsoring today's podcast. Over 1 million teachers use IXL in their classroom every day. IXL is the most widely used online learning and teaching platform K through 12. It empowers schools with complete curriculum, thousands of instructional resources, robust reporting, assessment data, and more. It saves teachers a lot of valuable time with ready-made plans aligned to the standards and the textbooks. Built-in engagement tools like custom competitions make learning fun for students. And IXL's diagnostic is research proven to be a strong predictor of performance on standardized assessments. And the best part, everything I just mentioned is all integrated into one platform, so you can simplify your EdTech tools. Visit IXL.com to lead your students towards data-driven excellence today. The link is in the show notes. And again, appreciate IXL sponsoring today's podcast.
All right. Thank you, IXL. Let's get started. Happy Sunday. Again, if you are watching live, jump in, whether you're coming to us from Arkansas, New York, wherever you are coming from, jump in and say hello, because that's where our guest is coming from today. We are going to meet Superintendent Dr. Jeff Collum here in a moment, coming to us from the office in Conway, Arkansas. Jeff is a hooper. Jeff has his doctorate. Jeff is on his way to becoming an author, but he's a great superintendent. He's a parent, a dad, and a husband. So excited to talk to Jeff. We have a lot in common, and we will meet him in just a moment. The opening concept here, right? The NCAA tournament just got to the Final Four. Michigan State lost. Auburn down your way, Jeff. They won. So we have our Final Four teams, right? And they want to be their best. How can we be our best when it matters the most? Well, little acronym for you, right? 4 things that you could do to be your best. Number 1, you got to believe in yourself, right? You got to have self-confidence. Number 2, you got to envision. You got to see it first in your head. Who is that person you want to be, or what is that thing you're trying to do? You have to envision it. S, you got to say it. You got to talk to yourself, right? To be the best, you have to tell yourself that, because otherwise we listen to ourselves, and sometimes we maybe hear some things that aren't good for us. And lastly is T. You got to put the time in. You have to prepare the time. You have to make the time, and then you got to go do those things that help make you the best. You got to put the time in. So a little acronym to get us started here with the show for the word best. These teams, these referees, men and women tournaments coming down the stretch, they got to be their best when it matters most. And there's 4 tips for you. Again, believing in yourself, envisioning, saying, talking to yourself, and time, putting the time in. Enough of me chatting. Let's meet tonight's guest. He dipped into his office here, coming to us from the home office in Conway. Dr. Collum, welcome.
How we doing, man? Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, Jeff, and glad you got back from vacation all right. And Jeff, how are you your best, right? I just heard that acronym. And when are the times, or what are some things that you do to make yourself the best that you could be?
Man, as you were talking, I was thinking it's how we perform in adversity when we don't feel well, when we're down. It may be through sickness or through some physical or mental challenge. And I think that's really when you figure out what your best is. It's how do you operate when you're down to that 10 or 20%. When things are going great, when everybody's happy, when everybody's getting along, it's easy to be your quote best. But I think you are really at your best and your character sticks out and who you are. And I think you go to the grid of who you really become and become your best when those things are coming at you. And like you were talking about in the tournament, when you're down by 10 and you have to come back and push a team into overtime and all the different things that can happen in a game, as you know, that's when you figure out what your best.
I lost you there, Jeff. You froze on me. Hopefully he'll be back to us. I was going to say we learned in COVID, talking about your best. People say, "Oh, made character, right? You brought the character out." Well, it didn't build character; it revealed character along those lines of what Jeff was saying. Jeff, I'm going to remove you and then try to see if I can bring you back. Yeah, he froze on us here. Sorry, friends. I'm going to try to bring Jeff back in. Nothing like live podcast, technical difficulties. Jeff, maybe if you could hear me, leave the show and come back to us, okay? So if you are watching the live show, jump in. Let me know where you are watching from, and certainly, hopefully, we can get Jeff back to us live here. So while we are waiting for Jeff, I do have an announcement. I'm very excited about coming out. My next book is coming out. It's called The Magic Acronyms, Formulas, and Stories of Leadership. We're just about to sort it and then certainly get the proof reading going on. And I'm excited about that. And I look forward to that coming out. I'm going to he's coming back to us. I'm excited about this project. It is a tribute to Dr. Rob Gilbert and the Success Hotline. If you know me and you're watching the show here, you've heard me talk about Success Hotline. If you don't have this number, write it down now. 973-743-4690. One more time, 973-743-4690. That's the Success Hotline. That's Dr. Rob Gilbert, sports psychologist, Montclair State University. I have been calling the hotline since 2014, and I got to know Dr. Gilbert, certainly learned a tremendous amount from him. And that's the next book. It is a tribute to the amazing Dr. Rob Gilbert, The Magic Acronyms, Formulas, and Stories of Leadership. And that is going to be coming out probably right at the end of the summer and into the fall. So I don't have a date for that. I got my fingers crossed that Jeff is going to come back to me here. I met Jeff at the superintendent's gathering with Arch Ford Services down there in Hot Springs, Arkansas. We connected, and he is the superintendent of Conway Schools in Conway, Arkansas. We connected again. He's a dad, a father, and the superintendent there. He's been there 4 years, and he's been a superintendent for 14, quite some time there. So pretty good. If you're watching the show, jump in. Let me know where you're coming from. Say hello. Maybe a question for me as we're waiting for Jeff to come back to us here. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to him. It was working just fine until he froze here. I'm going to kick from the studio. Yeah. All right. Well, let's figure this out. We're live here, so I'm waiting for Jeff here to come back in. What are you reading right now, friends? What are you reading? Somebody jump in the chat and help me out. I just finished. Get a pen if you're listening or watching live. Get a pen. The Traveler's Gift, Andy Andrews. It's actually in my bedroom. I don't have it right here at my thing. Andy Andrews, The Traveler's Gift. Absolutely incredible book. Really, really inspiring. It was a fiction book, but it was also an inspirational book, right? It was a fiction story, but real lessons, real live kind of inspiration there. And it was great. And the more I got to know Andy and learned about his work, he's got a ton of resources on the wisdomharbor.com. He's got a ton of books. The next book I'm reading right now is called The Noticer. Just a great story about Andy kind of working his way out of some problems and trouble there down in Alabama, on the Alabama coast. So check that out. The Traveler's Gift, Andy Andrews, and really, really good stuff. Again, if you're watching live, jump in. Let's have a little conversation. Throw me a question here while we're waiting for Jeff to come back on here. I apologize. I'm not sure what happened to his link there. You never know. Live technology here. Well, let me grab a prop here for you. I am going to grab a couple of the books talking about reading and books. All right. I just grabbed a couple things here. So again, if you're watching live, we're waiting for Jeff Collum to come back to us. So number one, I just mentioned Andy Andrews and his book, The Traveler's Gift. Well, off my shelf here, I grabbed the second one, The Coffee Bean, John Gordon and Damon West. If you haven't read The Coffee Bean, if you haven't heard about it, really, really good stuff. I don't want to give the whole thing away, but a great story. Look how thin it is. You could read this in an afternoon, probably in an hour or so, but really good. Quick intro to the book. Damon West was a college quarterback. Damon West was a very successful athlete, came from a good family. Unfortunately, got involved with drugs. He got kind of sidetracked with drugs, and he went to prison. And in prison, he meets this gentleman who kind of is going to help and guide him through the troubles. And he talks to him about being the coffee bean. I don't want to give the whole thing away. So certainly a recommendation here. Number one for that. Number two, this is not a well-known book. If you're an educator, you're someone looking for inspiration, here it is. There's a Hole in My Sidewalk, Portia Nelson. There's my second recommendation here. And I'm actually going to read a little bit to you. These are short little kind of vignettes, little stories here. Really, really good stuff. So let me find the part I want to read to you. I think I have the page folded here. Give me a second. Okay. Awesome. So here he is. He's back to us. Jeff, we're going to get back to you, friends. I'm going to hold that off to the side. We'll do it at another time. Jeff is back to us. Jeff, I was holding on.
Hey, I apologize. Hey, we've got some bad weather moving in, man, and it's hitting hard. And so my apologies. We're back on.
As long as you can get school open tomorrow, man. I mean, it's Sunday night now, but good. You worked your way back on. Okay.
Yeah. We're back.
I was hanging on. Well, friends, this is Jeff Collum. We were just about to intro him, and he got froze up. Well, I'm glad you made it back, Jeff.
Thank you. It's good to be back, man. It's good to be back. I'm really excited and looking forward to this.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, you were talking about, maybe being your best when things aren't right. You are just recovering from back surgery yourself just a couple months ago, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about how that has affected your leadership and to go from that to getting well here. Tell me about that when you weren't your best and now you're working your way back.
It was two things, man. Personally, as a former athlete, just having to slow down. I think I've got a pretty decent workout routine I try to stick with. And when you're forced to kind of lay down and stop and literally lay on your back, then you have to slow down and you have to think through a lot of things and you get a lot of time to process just kind of priorities and life and all that. And the other part I had to do professionally was I had to be vulnerable. I had to share with my team, hey, I'm getting ready to go through this challenge, which was really hard for me because I always want to be kind of that tough outer shell. Don't let people know what's going on and just stay hard about dealing with those kind of things. And the more I would show that vulnerability, Andrew, the more I began to see my team really rally around me and even the school board. Hey, how can we help you? Can we bring you a meal? Are you hurting? Is there something we can do to help you? It almost made me uncomfortable at times because I was like, I don't want you to do anything for me. And so I had to show some vulnerability and then also delegate, hand some things over to some folks. I have an incredible leadership team. They take excellent care of me, but they also do a great job of leading their people. And so just putting all that together, man, and laying it down for a little bit was hard. But I am really feeling, people ask, how are you doing, Jeff? I'd say I'm 80%, maybe 90% better than I was prior to surgery, which was a blessing to have that kind of success, coming out of a back surgery. And so those are kind of the things I've been walking through for the last probably 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah. Well, welcome back. I'm thrilled for you. It went well. Friends, Dr. Collum is the superintendent at Conway Schools, Conway, Arkansas. Jeff, you're 4 years there. Tell us about your community. Tell us about your school district, and certainly what drew your attention to join a place like Conway.
Man, I've been blessed my entire career to be a part of high-performing school districts, and my kids have been blessed to be in great schools. And so this is at the top of the list for me. And in my professional experience, 28 years, 14 years of being a superintendent, my wife and I wanted to see our sons in a school district where they could grow and thrive and do well and graduate from great schools. So it's all of that. I called it a Harvard on a hill. We're up here in the hills of Arkansas and the beautiful mountains and the White Rivers just down the road here. And when I interviewed for the job, I told the board, I think you have something really special here. The potential that you have is incredible, matched with the tradition of excellence that's been in place for years and years. You've got something really special here in Conway, Arkansas. And so we're working to put all of that together. We've got some challenges as the district is growing and changing, and the city's growing and changing with us and ahead of us in some ways. But this really is a special place. And I tell people all the time, it takes a village to raise a child. This is an absolutely incredible village. We're working on the vision of what we want to do next.
Yeah. And your boys are there. Shout out to your sons, Caleb, Elijah, Causey. And Causey was the guy that took the mic, right? He didn't kick off the school year. Did I hear that correctly, where he was part of the introduction there, grabbing the mic as a elementary student?
Yeah, so you're talking about it, and I'm looking at this picture. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
And this is on my desk. I look at this every day, man. And what was crazy is he dropped the mic, Andrew. I had this big plan to do convocation out, and I thought it went great. And my little guy comes to me and he says, Dad, I want to talk to the teachers when you're finished. And I thought he was joking. He's like, I have a message for him. And I kind of quizzed him a little bit about it. But, dude, when he got up and he spoke, hey, he dropped the mic to 1,500 people. And that dude's a legend now. Everywhere he goes in a school or across town, they know who Collum is. And so he's a gifted young man.
Being your best. Got to be your best when it matters most. He nailed that. That's awesome. And congratulations being in such a great spot there. And so what are you working on, Jeff? You're the superintendent. What's something you're working on? We're about to be April here. You guys end certainly earlier than we do. So what's something you're working on at school? And then second question there, what's something you're working on in your personal life?
Good question, man. I would say in school, it's to finish strong. We're coming out of spring break. We'll have about 6 or 8 weeks of school left. Graduation's just around the corner, and we're kind of in the thick of what I call banquet season. We got a banquet for everything, and you guys probably do too. So finishing strong with the students, finishing strong with our parents, letting them know it's been an incredible school year, the ups and the downs, the good and the bad. But let's finish 2025 really strong. And then personally, I heard this, and I'm happy to share it. I heard this at a conference about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it really stuck with me. It was, what is your brand? What is your brand? What do you want your brand to be as an individual, as a superintendent? We work for school districts, and they all have logos, and they have mascots, and the community can identify with that school district. But I heard the speaker talk about, you need to know what your brand is. What do you believe in? What do you want folks to know about you? And how do you want them to remember you? And Andrew, I think you do a great job of that, man. The way you share your brand is incredible. That's something I'm working on. I want to have a brand that people know, hey, that's what Jeff Collum's about. Whether it's character integrity, work ethic, or other pieces, visionary, innovation, technology, whatever it is, or he's a dad. He's a dad that likes to go and watch his sons coach and play basketball. What is your brand and how do you share that? And so I'm really focused on that right now.
I like that. So what are some things you're going to push part of that? What are some things that are going to stand out in that brand for you? And don't skip over Caleb's big win today.
Oh
He
yeah, I
did
love to
get the
talk about
win
it.
coaching on the
Love to talk
sidelines.
about it. So, man, when you and I first met, the basketball connection was there. I played a little and coached a lot. And to watch my older son, he's 18, he's the senior. He had a game today, and he put together this little scrappy group of soldiers that are kind of half baseball, half basketball players. And he said, Dad, I just want you to come watch. You can't coach. You can't tell me what to do. You just come sit and come watch, which was really hard for me. But I got to go watch him, and man, they won. They were up and down, and at the end, they finished the game with a W, and I was so proud of him. I got to tell you about his outfit real quick. He had on his black joggers. He had on a black T-shirt. Of course, he had on the sports coat. And even the referee stopped and said, I want a picture with you, dude. You are living life. I like your style. So he's on his way, man. I'm proud of him as a dad. And so to go back and answer the question, I tell people, and I'm trying to live this, be where your feet are planted. You know, we were just on vacation, and when you're on vacation as a superintendent, and you guys too, man, you can always think about, what else do I need to be doing? What's work going to be like when I get back on Monday? What about this phone call or this email? Hey, put it down. Unplug, let it go, be where your feet are planted, and enjoy the moment that you're living in, because they can go away just like that. And so this week was really good for me, man. I practiced it, I think, better than I have before. I really enjoyed our vacation time with my wife and our boys. And so I just encourage people to be where your feet are planted, and find that brand that you're trying to establish.
Yeah. Good for you, Jeff, and keep going down that road. But certainly one of the things that you've become an expert in is school security. You have learned a lot there. You present on that. Talk to me about that part of your life, and what about it, school security, drew your attention, where then again, learned so much over the years, including becoming an expert and a consultant in the field.
I kind of fell into it due to an unfortunate incident that happened years ago. It was back in 2008, 2009 school year. I was working in a school district in East Texas, Northeast Texas, a district that I truly love. Was actually born in this town. My father was an administrator in this town, and so a lot of ties to this school district, a lot of love for the school district and community. And there was a teacher that was killed in the classroom. It was a very, very unfortunate incident. And prior to this incident, I was aware of school safety, and I had thoughts about school safety. But I can tell you, Andrew, nothing like after that day. And not to go into detail of the incident, but it was a horrendous situation where, the teacher was killed, and we had to recover a campus and the family and the wife and just all the things that go along with that. It really stuck with me. And so from that, I kind of made a life choice that as long as I'm in this field, as long as I'm in this profession, I want to do everything in my power to help schools avoid those kind of situations in their schools. And one of the fallacies that we learned was, don't ever believe that it can't happen in your school. And it doesn't matter how big or small or rural or suburban or urban, what kind of district you work in, don't think it can't happen in your school. Now, that doesn't mean you have to live in fear, and it doesn't mean you walk around on eggshells all the time. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying you have to prepare as if it could. And you do all that you can within your power to mitigate those kind of things from happening. And so I've dedicated a greater part of my life and a greater part of this profession to practicing that as a superintendent in this role, and pushing those things out into our schools and every district that I lead. But also, I try to help schools personally when I can. I've worked with dozens of schools, both Texas and Arkansas. Continue to love that work because it's all about setting them up to be successful, hopefully to avoid those kind of situations.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, Jeff, I'm sorry that that happened to you, but again, you're learning from it and now trying to help others. Friends, if you're watching live, jump in and say hello. Have a question for Jeff. So Jeff, again, I'm Port Jervis, New York. I care about my school. What's a top three? What's a top few things that I could do as a school leader to make sure I'm being safe? Right? Is there a couple things that you might recommend just to say, hey, make sure you have these things?
High visibility is key. Principals need to be out in their buildings. Assistant principals need to be out in their buildings. Teachers need to be out in the hallways. When I talk to staff about probably the number one thing we see in our schools is be out and be aware. Kids know what's going on. Talk to your students. Ask them how they're doing. Meet them at the door. My dad was so good at this when he was a principal. Meet them at the door every single morning. Ask them how they're doing. Tell them you love them. Tell them good morning. Ask them what's for breakfast. Talk to your kids. That's a culture situation. That's a climate thing that we skim over. We'll spend a lot of money on cameras and technology and SROs, and I think those are good things. But you need to establish a very good culture of building relationships in your schools. That's how you put a thumb on that pulse and that heartbeat of what's going on in the school. The other thing I'd add to that is that's the softening part that I talk about. You soften the inside, you harden the outside. But you start, it's like a heart. You want that heart to be soft and malleable and pump blood into the life of the school. And so you begin with relationship building inside the walls with staff and students, okay? Then you move outside and you harden the exterior like a shell. You add in all those components. You can put in cameras and fencing and visitor procedures and SROs, whatever you want to put in. There's a plethora of things that you can add on. And when I work with schools, I kind of talk through where are your vulnerabilities? Where do you need to harden up some areas? Are your doors vulnerable? Are your fencing and gates vulnerable? Do you not have enough cameras in the courtyards? We just kind of look at a lot of different pieces, and then you pull those things together. Soften the inside, harden the outside, and have that culture where you think about safety all the time. And that becomes your daily routine. It's just what you do. It's not a one-time training in the summer. It's not a one-time training once a semester. You think about it all the time, and your folks are actively engaged in it. So that's a summary of it, but that's kind of the synopsis of what we do.
Yeah, I love that concept. Soften on the inside and harden on the outside. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Again, friends, if you're watching, jump in and say hello. We got some friends from Port Jervis watching. Thank you, Kelly, for your support. Jeff, when I met you, you read your audience, right? You could see who's into the presentation, and you had like a smile and a wonder on your face. I knew, I got your attention. What are some things when you present? What are some things, whether it's in your role as superintendent, you go into one of your banquets, you're going to speak at graduation, or when you're presenting in terms of school safety? How do you prepare when you're going to go talk, Jeff? What are some things that you do to be your best self to go speak?
Well, I was smiling because I was cracking up about your accent. This old East Texas boy was trying to figure out, what is this guy from New York saying? Nah, I'm messing with you. But no, man, you were talking about being a better storyteller and telling, tell folks what you do well and be your best ambassador for wherever you are. And so I kind of take that same idea, and whether it's school related, school safety related, or leadership related, man, it's all about telling a story. It's about grabbing the facts of wherever you are. And if it's a school safety story, how do we do those things I just talked about? If it's a leadership story, how do we build a team of leaders within the community to lead these schools? And so we'll talk through stories. If I go out and I talk to a local school district, tell me about your leadership team. Tell me what you guys do well. Tell me where you think you struggle. And then let's build a story. Let's put the story together. Let's build the team. And then let's begin to unite and get a vision. The next part of this is then you have to have a vision. You get all the people in the room. And I do this with school boards. We do a lot of strategic planning, and we do a deal called the Team of 8. And so we talk through, how do the 7 of you work with me as the superintendent and unite as a team of 8? And then we talk through different things that we can do to do strategic planning. I don't want it to be boring. And the thing that I liked about your presentation, Andrew, it was different. It wasn't boring. I've been to hundreds of presentations. I've been to a lot of different breakout sessions. I've been up to here, and I'm a big dude. I've been up to here with all the buzzwords and the things that you hear in education. What I appreciated about what you brought to the table that day was, for me, it was different. It was out of the box. It wasn't boring. And it challenged me to think 2 things. What is my story? How am I telling the story of this district? And it really inspired me, man. And you and I've stayed in touch since that day. and just the different things that you've helped me do to inspire myself and others. And so I appreciated
Yes.
that day. It was really good for me.
Right back at you, Jeff. Friend Casey Hogarth, another great leader watching. He says, own the room with your story. You're right, Casey. Jeff, another thing, again, basketball, leadership, we had a lot in common. We challenged each other, Jeff. You presented me with this beautiful challenge coin, and you challenged me to lead. And this coin reminds me, that every school district has a story. Every school district has a culture, right? It's not the same people in the same place, different people, different cultures. So I want to recognize that when I go to different communities. How did you accept the challenge? What's something that you trying to do to be a better leader, be a better dad, be a better husband with the challenge that I gave you?
Man, I did. It kind of helped me reset. You came along about mid-year, and it was not selfishly, but I think it was important for me as a leader to focus on me at the time. And if you are not being your best self at home, as a parent, as a spouse, as a friend, as a son, whatever it may be, father, all those different pieces, it's hard to deliver to other people your best. And so there was a lot of introspection on me for where can I improve individually so that I am a better leader. And one of the other sessions I went to later on was talking about burnout specifically for superintendents and leaders. This was geared towards superintendents, but I'll just say for leaders. And man, when you've been in this business over 25 years, and I've done this for 28, been a soup for 14, you can hit that burnout point to where you start, there's nothing new. There's nothing that feels like it's progressive, and there's nothing that you think that's what I want to do for the next 5, 7, or 10 years. And I'm on the last chapter now of that career. And so you really helped me stop and think. And I really have worked on this for the last 6 to 8 weeks. How can I be my best self? And where can I find energy and purpose and vision for the school district that I'm serving? And that's what I want to focus on. And when we say that, we talk about, well, what's best for kids? Well, let's mean that. Let's really carve that out. Let's find that space and let's dwell on, are we really doing what's best for kids? And then let's fill in the gaps with that. And so, man, I think you helped me hit a reset mid-year. And it was really good for me personally and professionally. And so I challenge other leaders to do the same. You find time and you get away and you unplug and you ask yourself, what is my why and what is my brand and how am I going to come back and be a better leader? That's a journey that we're on.
Good stuff, my friend. Good stuff. Well said, and appreciate that. And it's good reflection. It's definitely good reflection. Jeff, what's a challenge in the job? You've been doing it a long time. Again, it's nice to hear that you're inspired. What's something that you still find challenging after doing it all these years?
Education itself is a lot the same, even 28 years ago when I joined as a teacher and a coach. Kids are kids, and I think classroom stuff changes a little, but how you teach kids how to read and math and algebra are pretty much the same. They should be. But what I've seen migrate over the years are the political and societal factors that have crept into the schools. They're more prevalent in the schools than they've ever been. And so not being a politician and not, I'm an educator. I was a teacher and a coach, and I've been an educator for 28 years. I feel pretty confident in those skills and what I do there. But when you throw in the political landscape and you throw in the way that society has changed, and now we have to face all these other factors as well as education of our students, it's a big challenge. And the political divide is greater than it's ever been. And I don't really like to talk about politics, but it's crept into the schools to where the political divide is very evident even in our schools. And so I think we have to be aware of it. I don't think we have to roller skate the way that sometimes we're forced to roller skate through issues. I think it's okay to have your opinions and stick to them. But I would caution leaders to say, hey, let's still come back to keeping the main thing. And the main thing in education is our students and making sure they can walk across the stage and obtain that education at the highest level. That's what we're here to do. That's it. That is our focus in our job. That's what we're here to do. Let's respond to the other stuff when we have to, but let's try not to let it take over the scenery too much.
Well said, Dr. Collum. Well said. You mentioned about being, just coming back from spring break. I appreciate your flexibility and making sure we could do the podcast together. All leaders are readers, Jeff. And whether it was for pleasure on vacation or for self-improvement or improvement in your school, what are you reading right now?
So, man, I thought I heard you just where it cut out on my connection. I thought I heard you talk about the coffee bean. So I'm reading the coffee bean, but I just started this one. It's on my desk here behind me. A principal gave me this book. He was talking about it in a leadership meeting, and he's a great principal. And he said, Dr. Collum, he said, I'd love to give you this book. Our staff is beginning to read through it. I'm just starting it, so I can't really say much about it, but it's about students and the reasons why some struggle and others shine. And so it's going to the heart of how do kids thrive in the classroom and how do they thrive in life. So I'm excited about getting into this one.
Very cool. That fits right in surviving and thriving. I like that.
It's called Thrivers. There you go, okay. Thrivers.
Very cool. Jeff, something you wanted to talk about that I did not ask you?
Man, my family background, so mom and dad were educators. Dad was a teacher and a coach. My mother was an early childhood educator for 42 years.
Wow.
Yeah, they're special people, man. Dad passed away years ago. Mom is still living, going strong, and talks about curriculum every day. When I call mom, I get an earful of curriculum and reading. But I love it. And so that's the basis of kind of what pushed me into this field. Mom and dad were very inspirational to me. Married a beautiful woman who's also an educator and came from a family of educators. And so I feel like this profession kind of chose me. And the longer I stayed in it, my whole thing was this. If I'm going to stay in it, I want to do the most good and have the biggest impact. And God has opened doors for me in these 28 years that have put me in these different roles. And so I've been blessed. It's been a long career, and I would consider it a successful career, but I still have some time left to give.
Yeah, well said there. I love what you wrote here. I still want to be like him when I grow up, talking about your dad. Yeah.
100%. Absolutely.
Beautiful. And think about, again, Jeff is a superintendent, Conway Schools, Conway, Arkansas. Your 3 boys are in school right now. Your son, Caleb, you're going to hand him your diploma. Again, your beautiful wife, Kara. So God bless, Jeff. You do have everything right in front of you there. And what a great spot to be in.
Man, I appreciate it. It's a profession where you can have a family. You can be around your kids if you choose to be. I can get out and go walk any of my son's campuses and see them within 5 to 10 minutes. That's a blessing. You don't get that everywhere. And there's pros and cons to all of it. But my mom and dad had that. I've had that. Maybe my sons one day will have that. And so I've been blessed to be a part of this profession.
Good stuff there. Good stuff. Friends, again, jump in the chat and say hello. Jeff, let's get to rapid fire. I know you got to get ready for school for tomorrow. Lots getting back into school. These are quick questions, Jeff. 15-second timeout. Are you ready?
Okay. All right, let's do it.
Here we go. Last movie you saw?
Gladiator 2.
Last concert you went to?
Oh, gosh. Man, it's been years. Florida Georgia Line, years ago.
Ooh, I like that. Last song you sang out loud in the car?
Sang it yesterday on the way home. Luke Combs, Where the Wild Things Are.
Nice. Got the windows open?
We were rolling. Sunroof up. We were rolling. Somewhere in Alabama, I was belting it out.
How many nights on vacation did you go out for dessert?
Every night, I believe.
Every night. Ice cream every night?
So 2 nights, vanilla ice cream. The last night, my wife ordered some cakes from some local place and a banana pudding. Guilty. You got me.
You a vanilla ice cream guy, though, huh?
Vanilla ice cream, just plain.
All the stuff out there, and you going with vanilla.
Well, so she was trying to order cookies and cream, and it came as vanilla. And I said, no, that's not going to go to waste. I'm going to take it. I think I ate the whole gallon.
Speaking of food, what's your favorite dish?
I love Mexican food, man. Ate it last night. We just opened a Chewy's here. It's a great restaurant out of Austin, Texas. And Conway now has a Chewy's Mexican food restaurant. It was incredible. The fajitas were excellent.
Boom. I think we had Mexican at lunch when I was there. Your secretary set all that up for us.
Yeah.
Your favorite place to travel?
Love going to the beach, man. Just spent a week there in Florida. Rosemary Beach is beautiful right here in America.
Beautiful sands there. Conway, Arkansas is fill in the blank.
An incredible community on the move. An absolute incredible community.
For those that don't know the area there, Central Arkansas is there. Scottie Pippen. Jeff got the autograph in the office there, hometown. So it is a beautiful place and a beautiful school district. In 2025, I will fill in the blank.
Be a better version of me.
In 2025, I will stop
worrying.
That's hard when you're the superintendent.
It is. You really got to practice that one. And maybe figuring out what to worry about and what to worry about less. There's some things you need to think about, but don't worry about it. It's too much.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Bringing people together to see a vision and creating unity to where we can move, whether it's a school district or a community, forward. If I could snap my fingers and everybody could see the vision and come together, man, I would love that because it could save so much time.
That's like your job description right there.
What I do every day. They don't listen to the snap, but I'm always trying to put the vision out in front of them. Come on, this is where we got to go.
If you weren't in education, what field would you be in?
Something sports related. At one point, I was either going to be a physical therapist, sports med major, working with a professional sports team. Actually, spent some time working with the Washington Redskins. And that's a story for another day, but would have done some type of sports team program, something.
Yeah, Jeff's sitting down now, but I don't want to decrease. 6'6", 6'7", he's up there. 6'5". Yeah,
6'6".
I mean, he's a big dude, and his son Elijah is one heck of a ball player there too. So watch out, college basketball. We'll be talking about him in March Madness in a couple of years there. So good stuff. Jeff, we talked about a lot of passions of yours, things that make you thrive. What's a pet peeve of yours?
Man, I get impatient when I don't see progress. And even the smallest amount of progress can encourage me. But if we put in a lot of time on a project, or we're putting a lot of energy and effort and nothing's moving, I can get a little impatient, and it can become, it's been a pet peeve of mine, is just seeing progress. We've got to see some level of progress to keep folks moving.
At 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, I am fill in the blank.
Probably walking around a track somewhere. I get up and walk every morning. Saturday's my sleep-in day. I'm usually up at 5:30, cranking out some laps somewhere. And so even on Saturdays, I'll get up and walk around the track.
Kara coming with you. You got the headphones in. What's your process? You no electronics?
Now she'll work out. We work out together every morning, and then Saturdays we'll go for a walk or try to do something together there. But 5 days a week we work out in the mornings together.
Wow, that's
now
nice.
She's a stud athlete. That's another story. She played at LSU. She's a D1 stud volleyball player. So she's legit too, man. She's hardcore.
Wow. I invited the wrong person on the podcast. We'll see about running that back. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's one thing you're curious about?
What will life be like after retirement? What will I do maybe next chapter of my life? We talked about writing books and traveling and speaking. What will that journey look like when it officially begins?
Yeah, good stuff there. I'm looking forward to that as well. Something about Jeff Collum that people do not know about.
Man, no one would ever guess. I used to sing in a quartet, and years ago, and the voice is almost gone. But yeah, man, we grew up singing Southern gospel music, and traveled and used to sing all the time. So believe it or not, I was in a quartet.
Wow. What was the name of it?
We were called Uncommon Favor, and we tried to sing a lot of the Gaither Quartet homecoming gospel hymns. And the
Wow.
Gaither Quartet's been around for years. We were nothing like them, but that's the group that we would try to go and sing like. And we were decent, man. We did a lot of church appearances and sang quite a few appearances. And so, yeah, years ago. Years ago.
Love it.
Yeah.
Jeff, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for getting through the hurdle there of the technology. I appreciate you getting back. How about a quote to bring us home? Something that resonates with you for our listening audience.
Man, I appreciate that opportunity. I'll take it back to my dad. He used to say this all the time, whether he was preaching or coaching. Dad would always say, none of us are as smart as all of us, and none of us can do what all of us can do together. And that's just simply the value of a team. When you get all the people in the room, listen to their ideas, let them speak, let them talk, and then work together in unity. That's the value of leadership right there. And I love that quote. That's from my dad.
Dr. Jeff Collum, friends, Conway, Arkansas. Check them out. Again, home of Central Arkansas, but it's also home of where's my coin? How do you say it? Wampus Cat. Here they are. Here they are right here. So check them out. Jeff's link is in the show notes for his bio at the school. And Jeff, continued success with the back, and certainly continued success with your family, as well as your role as superintendent there at Conway.
Hey, thanks for having me, Andrew. I look forward to seeing you again in the future. Great job, man. Appreciate what you're doing as a leader so much.
Let's keep rolling, friends. This is Jeff Conway. Certainly leave him a positive comment in the chat. I can't find the mouse to get to the close thing here, so we're going to go with the touch screen. Jeff, stay on the line a second. Friends, thanks for tuning in, and keep surviving and thriving. Jeff, have a good night, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Bam.